The Howling.
Contact log
Somewhere
Fox
in
1
this city,
report any sighting. Repeat,
in this
report any
human
sighting.
jungle, it begins.
Just try. He's right there.
What do you see?
What's there, Karen?
What do you see, Karen?
What's there?
Somewhere in these.
Hello, werewolves. Well, I mean, with this movie, that's pretty much it. It's a movie about werewolves. Big werewolves, small werewolves, de-limbed werewolves, and even a blonde one.
Today we're talking about another Joe Dante classic, the 1981 film, The Howling.
This March will actually be the 40-year anniversary of the movie.
A brief synopsis. After a bizarre and near deadly encounter with a serial killer, a television newswoman is sent to a remote mountain resort whose residents may not be what they seem.
Never trust a secret group of white people. It's never gonna end well.
Must be nice to be so rich that your doctor's like, go to this retreat for your stress.
In the mountains. Taglines for this movie include, imagine your worst fear a reality.
When the howling starts, the horror begins. Trigger warnings for this movie include intense gore and sexual situations, which, if you have not seen this movie, the beginning is set in a porn store, and there is some upsetting imagery. There's like some sexual assault imagery at the very beginning, but it does come back a little bit later, just like briefly.
And like, not flash, nightmare.
Yeah, it's almost like
Delusions.
it's like she has like PTSD from that event and like sees it. But anyway, so it's not just sexual situations. There is an upsetting one. That's all.
But actually, that is literally how the movie starts. Karen White is a Los Angeles television news anchor who is being stalked by a serial killer named Eddie Quist. Do you know how hard it is for me to not say Eddie Quest?
Why?
I don't know. Because it's one letter away. I just want to say Eddie Quest.
Eddie Quest sounds like Inspector Gadget or something. Like it'd be a kid's show.
What?
Eddie Quest.
Oh, I thought you were saying like...
No, it doesn't sound like Inspector Gadget. It's this, whatever.
Oh no, Johnny Quest. That's...
Oh, because there is a kid's
Johnny
thing.
Quest.
Yeah. So weirdly, the police want her to meet Eddie, and they're kind of like following her, tailing her, and they meet at a porn theater.
And she's wearing a wire.
And she's wearing a wire, right?
But there's that whole thing where, like, she walks into the store and they're like, no, we can't hear you anymore. Because apparently the walls of this porn shop are made of lead or something. I don't
Something
know.
weird. But she basically goes into, like, a viewing booth, essentially, which is where that trigger warning for sexual assaults lies.
They're playing, like, snuff films and
yeah.
stuff.
And he's in there behind her, and it's very scary. Like, he's just talking to her.
Behind her.
Yeah,
And he won't let
in
her
the
turn
dark.
around.
Yeah.
It's when she finally does turn around that it's kind of, like, hazy, and she doesn't really
Yeah.
see fully. You're like, something weird is going on. And then she, like, exits and passes out at the same time?
Yeah. And they shoot him.
Ah, yes. Forgot about that.
And I said she has PTSD, but Wikipedia says she has amnesia. But she's just very fucked up from this event moving forward.
I think it's kind of like amnesia from...
Triggered from the
yeah.
PTSD, yeah. Anyways, it's from here that her therapist advises that she goes to the colony, which
Never go... There's never a good colony.
is like the outpatient resorty type thing.
There's not... Yeah, but it's like, yeah, you go see the colony. No, never. Colonies are never good. They're either... What's the one? Jamestown, the one that was wiped off the map in the 1600s. There's never good stuff that happens.
Isn't Jamestown like the...
Jonestown.
Yeah.
Jamestown is the other one.
Okay.
The one where there was like a city of people and then it got completely wiped and nobody ever found out what happened to it.
Oh, like in Storm of the Century.
What? Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
actually,
talk about
yes,
it.
they do.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly like that. 'Cause
Whatever the word is that was on the tree.
Yes. Again.
You're looking at me with so much
Because you're making these very subtle references to the movie, and I'm like, yes, you are correct. But it's funny that you're like, yes, this real life event equates to Stephen King movie.
It does.
Arriving at the colony, there's kind of like a party dinner.
They all
thing.
seem like they are high as fuck.
It's just a bunch of weird hippies, and
Yeah. And they all, like, because she's, like, a news anchor, she's recognizable, and, like, everyone wants to talk to her, and she has her husband with her, who is, like, the muscular, mustached man of this time period that was always cast.
I feel like most men in this time were just clones of Tom Atkins.
Yes.
Or maybe Tom Atkins himself is a clone.
They're all the same.
Everybody was the same blonde, mustached man. And it's always weird because they're always like a little muscular, but kind of chubby.
Yeah.
You know exactly what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. They always are.
Yeah, they're definitely strong, but they also have, like, a tiny beer belly. So the next, like, thing is the whole thing where he goes, like, hunting with the men, and she goes to, like, group therapy. And that's when he goes to Marsha's cabin, and she tries to make out with him.
Yeah, because there's this whole weird thing where this whole family's fucked up.
Yeah, there's, like, the weird brother.
Because there's the weird brother who's always lurking in the woods, and
Yeah.
he's, like, watching them, especially because they're, like, the newcomers or whatever. But then he's just, like, trying to hook him up with his sister, and he's the one that's like, you should go. I can't remember if he's trying to get food or something. He tells her to go to her cabin.
He needed something, like, help with, like, I don't know. I feel like he killed a rabbit or something, and she had to skin it.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, if you take it to her, she'll clean it for you.
Yeah.
But no, that's not what happens.
Yeah. She comes on very strong, and he ends up leaving her cabin and going back to Karen, right? Karen. And it's while he's on his way back, we don't see it happen, but when he gets back to the cabin, he has, like, a scratch, and something got him from point A to point B.
And you never know what it is.
Or who. And the whole time they've been staying there, like, they hear howling at night. Like, it's just a spooky, not very relaxing environment for our PTSD heroine, Karen. So she calls her friend, whose name is Terry, who's also a reporter, and asks her to come and either, like, take her home or, like, convince her that, like, everything's fine.
And it's Terry and her boyfriend, Chris. That are also, they're, like, both news reporters trying to work on the Eddie case.
Yeah.
But they come up separately. I can't remember quite why, but they come up separately. Yeah. Before she comes up, Terry and Chris actually discover that Eddie's body has disappeared from the morgue. And they actually, like, open up the... Oh, shit. What is that called in the morgue?
The fridge?
Fridge? Is it fridge?
The body fridge?
Yeah, the body fridge. I don't know.
think it's just called a fridge.
But they see that the door from the inside is, like, banged up and stuff. Which would be fucking terrifying.
That would be so scary. There's also this scene where Terry is, like, taking a walk, and she has some of Eddie, the serial killer's drawings with her, and she, like, recognizes this, like island...
Oh, yeah.
Ridge, whatever you would call it, matches up exactly with a drawing, and so she has a suspicion that he's somehow connected to this place.
Since Bill's injury, he's kind of been acting strange, and him and Karen have been arguing more and more. And it gets to the point where Bill actually hits her.
He hits her, yeah. It's really, like, hard and upsetting, yeah.
And because
add that to trigger warnings.
Yeah.
Domestic abuse.
Because she sees the scratch on his back.
And she thinks it's something, like, sexual, not, like, an actual werewolf attack.
I don't think she thought it was a werewolf. But
those are her two options she weighed. It was werewolf attack or he's cheating on me, and she decided he was probably cheating on her. She decided
werewolves didn't exist. Idiot.
Dummy. After this whole, like, domestic situation between the two of them, Bill does end up going to meet Marsha in the, like, around a bonfire, essentially. And, yeah, they have a weird werewolf sex, and they turn into a cartoon. You don't like that description?
No, well, yes, I love it. But
accurate.
Also, they transform while they're having sex. but due to budgetary reasons, it is a cartoon.
Yeah.
A very strange 80s looking cartoon. Mm-hmm. But they turn into a cartoon. Well, no, that's not part of their werewolf transformation.
Yeah, from this point on, the rest of the movie's a cartoon.
I would have been so pissed.
Can you imagine?
If every werewolf scene was a cartoon,
Yeah.
I would not have watched it.
Anyways, though, we are now confirming that Bill is a werewolf, and also so is Marcia, and probably lots of other people at this place.
An interesting note, you never really know who is the one that turns Bill. Mm-hmm. It's, I think most people say it's either Marcia herself or her brother.
Yeah, I think it was the brother, because he was, like, lingering.
Terry at this point is now at the colony.
Right.
And she obviously thinks this place is kind of weird. And as we mentioned before, she knows that somehow Eddie is connected to this place. And she actually enters one of the cabins. Yeah,
and even at the porn shop and everything, I think they literally describe it as his calling card, is that he leaves these smiley face stickers all over the place, and that's why she investigates that cabin, is because there's a smiley face sticker on the door. When she goes to this cabin with the smiley face, she opens the door and finds all of these drawings that she knows to be Eddie's, because her and her boyfriend have been investigating, and it's from another room that you hear a weird noise, and you realize that there's something in there, and she blocks the door and tries to kind of make a run for it.
And it's while she's investigating that you see, I mean, I guess this is really the first big werewolf attack.
Yeah.
Because he is big werewolf, and you actually see the werewolf now.
Of course, I don't even remember what she blocked the door with, but this is a gigantic werewolf, and it breaks through whatever she set up. And she's crawling away. She grabs an axe, and she ends up cutting off his hand, his arm.
It's
forearm,
part of his arm. Yeah, it cuts him
at the forearm.
Yeah, at the forearm
down. And this transition is really, really fucking cool, but it's a werewolf hand, but it starts to bubble and deflate, and then it turns into a human hand, and she's just shrieking the whole time. But she escapes.
Same. I would also be freaking out.
Yeah, but she escapes.
She actually runs to the therapist's office and makes a phone call to her boyfriend Chris, and at the same time she's also trying to rummage through the files, and she actually finds Eddie's file.
Yeah, so pretty much in a classic movie moment, she finds Eddie's file, and then he's behind her and murders her. And we know that he's not human at this point as well.
Yeah, bipedal wolves usually gives it away that it's werewolves. But this scene is very bloody. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
bites her neck.
And Chris, the boyfriend, is still on the phone with her while she's being eaten. Destroyed, whatever.
Oh yeah, it's he's at this shop because they were at this it's an antique store, but at the same time they're oh yes, we have silver bullets. He doesn't have an accent like that, but I just imagine in my head, because what antique store just has silver bullets?
Right, ammunition ready to go.
So he gets the silver bullets and goes. But what a weird scene. Mm-hmm. If I ever see silver bullets in an antique shop or a salvo, I'm getting them because it's a sign.
Yeah. Karen ends up discovering Terry's body as she's kind of looking for the doctor. She just has, I can't remember her exact reasoning for going to his office, but it's while she's there that Eddie shows up behind her and starts teasing her and talking to her, and is I missed you, and it's so creepy. He's very scary in human form here.
Because he's it seems like he's not fully human here.
Yeah, his eyes
are all weird and
yellow.
So it looks like he had just changed back. So he was 98% human here. And then this scene has the most famous shot, definitely
absolutely.
the highest budget shot from this movie, where he starts to change again in front of her and his skin starts to boil. And
yeah, and what's cool about this too is it's like a real-time transformation, because like obviously it's not like he goes from 0 to werewolf in 10 seconds. This lasts a couple minutes, and she's just like horrified and watching it happen.
Because he's like still coming at her while he's changing,
and she's trapped at this point. Really,
trapped. There's only one way out, and he is standing there. But it's this transformation is definitely different than most interpretations, because usually it's like, you know, like the like bones breaking, them like bending weird, and
with this one it's
limbs
just
elongating.
He gets bigger instead of like crunching down. It's like a humanoid wolf.
Yeah, and also like the skin boiling aspect of it. It's very cool.
But yeah, Karen's response to this is to throw a jar of acid at it that's
yeah.
casually sitting right next to her.
I have so many questions about that.
The acid?
Why is there acid?
I don't know.
What are they using it for?
Yeah.
Also, how did she know what it was?
It was labeled.
Oh.
She literally, like, she's watching him transform, and at the same time she's looking around, and it's literally the table right next to her.
Why would they have acid? What are they doing?
I don't know.
What if it was like, get you high acid?
It's not.
It's not. But still, it doesn't do shit to him.
But
He's a werewolf.
She does this, and she manages to escape. After Karen flees, we see Terry's boyfriend Chris arrive, and he goes to the office that like she was calling from.
A little too late, though.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And he finds her body, but he also finds the now disfigured Eddie. And
I had mentioned before that he was scary. He is. He, like, this version of Eddie, disfigured, partially werewolf Eddie, could be his own, like, horror movie character.
Yeah.
It is terrifying.
Yeah, and this is really sad, too, because Terry had, like, a recorder on her because she was investigating, and he, like, plays back her screams. It's upsetting. Mm-hmm. It's pretty nasty. But then, Eddie gets a little cocky and is like, go ahead and shoot me then. Like, fucking shoot me, dude. And not knowing that Chris has those silver bullets, and he kills him.
I have silver bullets in here.
Silver bullets, my ass. Get up, TC.
It turns out that everybody at the colony is werewolves, and they can shapeshift at will.
Shocker.
They don't need the full moon.
There's a lot of chaos that ensues at this point. But basically, the main thing that ends up happening is they are able to trap a lot of them in a barn. Chris and Karen are, and they set it on fire and try to escape. So trying to, like, just eliminate all of them.
And it's while they escape, they're driving away, that it turns out Bill was waiting in the back seat. Yeah.
Yes.
He was in the... I was like, wait, where? Top of the car?
Where is he waiting?
Where is he waiting?
He's in the back seat.
He's in the back seat, and he's full werewolf, and he bites Karen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so then Chris shoots him, and then when he dies, of course, he turns back to his human form, and she sees that it's Bill. There's also that whole scene with, like, the cop, and they steal the cop car. I love that, when they're trying to escape.
It's now Karen and Chris's goal to try to warn the entire world, because they know they didn't get all the werewolves.
Right. And they go about it a strange way.
Yeah, I don't think I agree with their decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's like going out with a fucking bang, but...
Literally.
Yeah. So, Karen goes on the air, like we said in the beginning, she's a newscaster, and she just completely deviates from what they have on the prompter, and she's like, werewolves are real, you have to believe us, we went to the colony, this is the leader, this, that, and the other thing, and then she's like, to prove it, she transforms. And
then it's at, like, the peak of the transformation... Chris shoots her on live TV.
Yep.
Fire that's burning out of control up the coast tonight. Firefighters have discovered the blaze seems to have started at the colony.
A secret society exists and is living among all of us. They are neither people nor animals, but something in between. Monstrous mutations whose violent natures
Take one.
must be satisfied. I know what you're thinking, because I've been where you are.
That's enough. Leave it.
And it's possible
Leave
to
it.
imagine.
Cut. Leave it!
But I have proof, and Tonight I'm gonna show you something. Make you believe.
Holy shit!
And it kind of like is cutting to people watching the news, and it's like most of the people are like, "This is a load of baloney."
Yeah, and so of course it was live, and so they cut to commercial or whatever, and it's like no one was affected by this at all. Everyone's like, "Huh, that was some weird effect," or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's at this point that it cuts to like a bar, and we see Marcia, who has obviously escaped the fire, and she orders a burger, rare. At the very end.
Such an 80s way to
while
end that
looking
movie.
into the camera.
Uh-huh.
It's so good.
Rare.
I hated it the first time. I thought that was the dumbest ending ever, but after I watched it again, I really liked that.
Uh-huh.
Things they do with special effects these days. Did you see the one about the guy in the spaceship?
It was real. He turned into a werewolf and they shot her.
You're plastic.
Doesn't mean it wasn't real.
Hey, Ernie, put that pepper steak on for me, will you? And a hamburger for the lady.
How do you want that?
How you want it, honey?
Rare.
The Howling obviously had state-of-the-art effects for the time. The transformation scenes were created by Rob Bottin, who had also worked with Dante on Piranha.
Rick Baker was the original effects artist for the film, but eventually left the production to work on An American Werewolf in London, therefore handing over the effects work to Bottin.
Bottin's most celebrated effect was the on-screen transformation of Eddie Quist. I didn't say Quest. Which involved air bladders under latex facial applications to give the illusion of transformation.
Eddie's makeup for the full transformation involved him being in the chair for up to 10 hours. And the actor that played Eddie was like a classically trained actor. And he accepted this role, I guess, without really reading through the whole script or reading it in depth, and did not realize like how little his character was on screen and how much prep was involved for it.
He transformed so much in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the only time without intense makeup is just the beginning.
Yeah, maybe he thought it was just going to be, like, in post.
No, because that wasn't really a thing back then.
Well, they did all that stop motion and stuff.
Yeah.
He could have been misinformed.
No. I don't think so. I don't think he would. I don't know. I thought he must have read, like, the first 10 pages and been like,
cool.
Sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of the stop motion effects, they were done by David Allen. Mainly for the scene where the wolves are being burned in the barn. But Dante actually found that they couldn't match up the lighting compared to the rest of the movie, and he cut it all except for that one brief moment where you see the 3 wolves at the end.
So weird. It's so misplaced.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, why leave any of it in? Like, 'cause it looks so different. Peter Curran,
I think.
handled the animated sequences, both the main title animation and the werewolf transformation of Bill and Marcia making sweet wolfy love.
Man, I bet he was just like, you want me to do what?
Mm-hmm.
You want me to animate, huh?
So random.
This movie was obviously in many ways in competition with An American Werewolf in London. It even came out the same year. The Howling actually came out just 5 months before. Whenever the effects are brought up for one of the films, usually the other one is also mentioned, in comparison to the werewolf transformations. And it is quite interesting to see where they differ. The Howling is like the bubbly, controlled transformation where the werewolf is... an American werewolf is just full pain, no control, stretchy.
Yeah, they're like the opposite spectrum of like... The Howling werewolves get their power from it versus like it's a curse in an American werewolf.
Variety, the magazine, claimed that the Howling's biggest flaw is that the impact of the initial transformation with Eddie is never topped during the climax of the film. A lot of people had a problem with the fact that the transformation in the middle is the best thing in the movie, and then...
There's like 30 more minutes after that still.
Yeah, there's a lot of time where nothing is ever as cool as what you had already seen. Which makes sense. I mean...
Because even her transformation at the end...
You don't really see much of it.
You don't see it. It cuts to, like, the control room. It cuts to the people at the bar. It cuts to Chris. And then it goes back to her.
And then it's already done.
So it's no transformation. It's, like, the stages.
They really should have showed the full...
Her transformation in that part is so different looking, because she looks like a straight-up Shih Tzu for a second.
She looks like a blonde dog.
Yeah, because she doesn't have the snout. Like, she has, like, a squished-in nose. It's really strange.
It should have showed that full transformation.
Yeah.
It would have been such a more impactful shot.
Mm-hmm. To end on, too.
Yeah.
This movie was filmed in 28 days, plus including the days of the reshoots. A lot of the characters were named after directors of other werewolf movies, including Stuart Walker, who I guess he's mentioned in the mortuary. Like, they're talking about, oh, that guy Stuart Walker. I don't really remember the exact line. But he directed the first werewolf movie of the sound era called Werewolf of London, which came out in 1935.
I'd like to check that out.
This movie also has, like, quite a few comedic elements, one of which being all of the, like, wolf puns that are scattered throughout. Like, for example, someone's eating wolf chili at the phone booth. There's a book sitting on the ledge that's called Howl. Later at the colony, Bill is reading a book written by Tom Wolfe.
Yeah, I noticed that one.
There's even more than that. Those
Yeah,
are just a couple, but they're all scattered throughout.
It is kind of funny. They're like, pack in as many as we can.
Yeah, and it's subtle. The only one that, like, to me was really obvious was the wolf chili, because they, like, zoom in on it. Dr. George Wagner, who is played by Patrick Macnee, is the only confirmed werewolf in the Coven who we never see in werewolf form or transforming. So it's kind of interesting, since he was definitely the leader of this colony, and I always thought, like, maybe that was a budget issue as well, because you think he would have been the biggest, baddest wolf.
Or just a missed opportunity. They should have done something more with him.
Because even at the very end, he's like, he gets scratched by somebody else, and he's like walking around with a walker. And he's very not intimidating or scary, but you know that he's in charge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they even show, like, the cop with, like, fangs and weird, cool eyes. Even though he's shooting at them, which is very strange. But, yeah, they just didn't really do anything with him.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, ooh, sequel, but they made a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
They made 3 more.
Yeah, which we've not seen any.
I've seen 2.
You have?
Yeah.
Huh.
It's not a good movie.
Okay. I didn't know you saw it.
But it has Robert E. Lee.
Who's that?
Saruman.
Oh, okay.
Wait. It's Christopher Lee.
You did say
I said Robert E. Lee because that name was in my head.
Like, I immediately was like, isn't that from the Civil War?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the Civil War general.
Okay, that sounded really weird. But I didn't say anything because I didn't know who you were talking about.
Christopher Lee.
Okay.
Christopher Lee, the guy that plays Saruman.
You know, Robert E. Lee.
No.
Plays Saruman.
After the Civil War, he lived another 70, 80 years. And then was in the Howling 2.
Okay.
At the age of 140 or something.
Okay, wow. Elizabeth Brooks, who played Marcia, was quoted as saying, "In the past, I've always refused to do nude magazine work because I believe in the Bible and I have morals." I thought this was kind of horrible for her as a person. She was told that sex scene with her and Bill that she would not be full frontally nude, that she was going to be covered by smoke that they would add in post or fire. Or something like that. And obviously that's not the case. She's fully...
didn't show anything.
Yeah, she's fully nude. And also before the movie came out... What'd you say?
I said they didn't cover anything.
Oh, yeah, they didn't cover anything. And before the movie came out, Playboy had, like, a special, like, women in the cinema, issue. And they published the pictures without her consent. So she never did another... topless, nude, anything in her acting career again. Because she even said, like, she was comfortable being naked on set in front of the crew and doing the scene, but they had assured her that it wouldn't be so exposing. Yeah. She wouldn't be so exposed. Really sad.
Yeah, it is.
So shitty.
Due to the work on The Howling, Dante and producer Michael Fennell received the opportunity to make the film Gremlins for Steven Spielberg. Gremlins actually references The Howling with a smiley face image on the refrigerator door. And as we mentioned, Eddie Quist leaves those smiley faces everywhere. Also, reporter Lou Landers appears in both The Howling and Gremlins, which suggests that both movies are in the same universe.
So random.
That would be a cool crossover.
A little Mogwai pops up at the colony.
No. Imagine if they call in the werewolves to stop the Gremlins.
Ah. All right.
I'd watch that movie.
Okay.
Werewolves versus Gremlins.
I mean, the Gremlins would probably still win.
I think the werewolves would win.
The Gremlins are smart and they can multiply much faster.
But a werewolf could tear them apart.
Yeah, but they set traps and shit. They would get drunk and smash bottles on their heads.
The Gremlins just want to get drunk. They're not going to strategically plan a battle.
Dee Wallace is the actress who played Karen, and she's also known for being the mom in Cujo, and she's also the mom in E.T. I don't know who she played, but she was also in the original Hills Have Eyes.
I did not know that she was in Hills Have Eyes.
I have honestly only ever seen the remake.
Oh, we should watch the original.
I don't like the premise, I guess. Like the inbreeding and stuff. It's gross.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, the original is less gross than the new one.
Yeah. I thought this was really funny, though. On her IMDb bio, it says, quote, typecasting Dee Wallace Stone as a horror heroine does not do her justice. Unlike some other Scream queens whose careers quickly faded, Dee has gone on to have a very busy and varied acting career, end quote. I just thought it was really funny that she was like, I am not a Scream queen, or whoever wrote that.
She's definitely a Scream queen.
She's definitely a Scream queen.
That's great, though.
It's hilarious. But the Blu-ray that we have The Howling on is
it's
called
the Scream
Queen
Collection.
Yeah, with her and then Jodie Foster. Whoa, Jodie Foster? What's her name? Oh no, I'm dying.
Haha, now you can't get a name.
Jodie Foster. Why did I say Jodie Foster?
Jamie Lee Curtis?
Jamie Lee Curtis in The Fog, not Jodie Foster.
Yeah, Jodie Foster's not in The Fog.
And then Christopher Stone, who played Bill, was also in Cujo.
They should have just got Tom Atkins.
And they were married, right? Those two?
Yes. Well,
yeah.
Yeah. I know because they were engaged during The Howling.
Yeah, this movie, a lot of the actors died really young, and Christopher Stone was one. He had a heart attack when he was 52, very young. And then the woman that played Marcia, Elizabeth Brooks, died of brain cancer in her early 40s.
Wow.
Sad.
That's sad. The final transformation had to be done all in close-ups because the movie had exceeded its budget. And they actually had to shoot this in Joe Dante's office because they had no more money for sets, which is insane.
Yeah.
As we were talking about, it would have been so much better if they had shown the full transformation.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't have the same effect. Art director Robert A. Burns had previously worked on the set for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. In fact, many of the grisly set dressings for this movie were holdovers from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Most notably, the corpse in the armchair seen in Walter Paisley's bookstore.
What is a holdover? Something that they just didn't use?
Something they used in the movie.
Oh, they did use.
And then it's also just in this movie, too.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Burns is also known for working on The Hills Have Eyes and Reanimator.
The Howling is actually based on a book of the same name. The book was written by Gary Brandner in 1977, and he's actually from Michigan, Sault Ste. Marie in the UP.
The movie is only loosely based on the book, and director Joe Dante was known to trash it. Brandner wasn't involved in the film at all, and tells the story of seeing Joe Dante at a Q&A trashing the novel, unaware of Gary, at which point Gary stood up and said, I wrote the novel.
It's insane.
He was just there at a Q&A.
Yeah, what a dick, Joe Dante. Don't trash it. Robert Picardo, who played Eddie, improvised the line, I want to give you a piece of my mind, before pulling out a bullet from his head. And that scene is so gory. Mm-hmm. It's gross.
And it's a really cool scene. And
it's really
a great
long.
Line. Yeah.
Really shows them digging in there to get it.
Yeah. This movie won the 1981 Saturn Award for Best Horror Film and had been nominated for Saturn's also for Best Makeup and Best Special Effects.
There are 10 deaths in this movie, not including the deer who gets shot at the beginning. And all but one are taken out by Chris Halloran and the silver bullets.
And yeah, we don't know how many burned in the barn.
Yeah,
but
on screen.
We're
deaths.
talking about on screen.
Yep.
But man, Eddie took enough bullets to kill so many people.
I initially didn't really like this movie after I first watched it, but after I sat down and watched it again, I ended up loving it. The ending is one of my favorites in any werewolf movie I can think of, and the bubbly effects are insane and awesome.
But yeah, I had never seen this either when we watched it for the first time. I just like how it's a different story, and it's not a curse. It's just kind of the whole commune thing is very unique and very strange, but that's not a bad thing. It's just like a lot of the other werewolves are like American Werewolf. That's usually the way those movies went.
As far as where to watch, this one is really weirdly hard to find. It's not on any of your like typical streaming sites. It's probably on YouTube to rent. I'm not sure. We actually, like I mentioned earlier, we do have like the Blu-ray double feature Scream Queen thing.
Yeah, and it was only after that they put it up on Amazon to rent. But it's still like $6 or $7.
Yeah, very weird.
Just get a DVD. Next week, we're doing another Universal monster classic.
We're talking about the 1931 vampire flick, Dracula.
This episode, we're going to be talking about the vampire legend, as well as going into the background of Bela Lugosi and Dwight Frye.
It's going to be super cool.
This will probably be our longest episode that isn't an interview.
We'll see.
Because we're going to do a lot of the deep divey, spooky things. Mm-hmm. Talking about where Dracula came from. But also, Bela Lugosi had a very interesting life. So I feel like you got to talk about him.
Yeah. Maybe he knew Robert E. Lee.
Oh my. I didn't. First of all, that would be impossible. Bela Lugosi isn't from here.
Oh my god, I know, okay? It was a joke. Because we know Bela Lugosi was in the army, okay?
He was from
or whatever the fuck
Ottoman Empire.
Okay.
And he fought in World War I. So it's going to be really cool. I didn't know that. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff you didn't know. And Dracula's a lot of cool facts. So stay tuned. Check it out next week. Follow us on the things on Spotify and iTunes and pretty much anywhere. The podcast is like everywhere now.
Instagram, Twitter.
Please also follow us on Twitter and Instagram and give us a like or a rating depending on where you listen. It's different, but please, it all helps. Stay tuned.